everybody, Crafting Journey here. That Journey chick on Instagram. Look, I'm doing the cold weather thing today. It's not cold. It's going to be 70 degrees outside today. But inside my house, it's cold. It was down into the 30s last night. And I did not have the heat on. Well, I had it on, but I had it set at 60 degrees. So it didn't really come on. Let me adjust the microphone here so everybody can hear me. Can you hear me? I'm not going to tap the microphone. So, interesting day yesterday in the Ahmaud Arbery case. I'm going to bring you the closing arguments. There we go. I'm going to bring you the closing arguments to the best of my ability. They were hours long, and they're not done. Oh my God. Yeah, more to come on that later. Let's start out here. I don't know if you can see. I was working on this side of the painting over here, all this part. Now, I've done the same identical part on the other side. So, there's hair all over it. Oh my God. Hair. And it's my hair. It's not dog hair. Okay. So, I've really kind of got the middle to do. I'm hoping that I can get this done this week. Yesterday, I took the day off. Today and tomorrow, I have work to do. I've got this whole list of stuff to do. It's not as bad as it looks. I should be able to get this done. Once I get that done, I'm caught up. And I don't know. I don't know what came in yesterday. We'll see how much mail I got yesterday. But probably a full day's worth of work. Then maybe tomorrow I can relax a little. We'll see. Yesterday was National Gingerbread Cookie Day, and my sister and I went grocery shopping, I think, along with everybody else. Everybody went grocery shopping yesterday, and but I got the ingredients. I had a lot of the ingredients already, but I bought the ingredients, other ingredients that I needed, like more flour, some butter, and to make the gingerbread cookies. But I didn't make them because my shoulder hurt so bad by the time I got home. Yeah, the other day when I unboxed that tree, when I went this way with it, I was holding it, and when I went that way with it, it really wrenched it. So I got to get back to the doctor on that, but yeah, all in good time, right? I did make a dentist appointment the other day. December 14th, soonest I could get in, but it's okay because I have a cracked tooth. So let's see. All right, we did Monday. What was yesterday? Monday. Okay, so we did grocery shopping for Thanksgiving. And then today is National Cashew Day. We're going to talk about that because I had no idea the process for getting a cashew from the plant to us, to our table. It's crazy. And that is why they're so gosh darn expensive. They're Stitch. Okay, we're going to talk about that. But this day in history, what are we going to talk about? Yes, now I remember. Okay, Life Magazine. Life Magazine. Do you know, I don't think I've ever bought a copy of Life Magazine. Just not interested. I enjoy People Magazine. Love me some People Magazine. So, anything else to write down here? I did not do any social media yesterday. No, I had to think about it. No, I didn't have time. Okay, that's our planner for today. Oh, goodness. Ooh, sorry, tired. And I went to bed at a decent time. Let me just put it out there. You know, you guys know I suffer from anxiety and depression. A lot of you do too. And we have bad days. So yesterday was one of my bad days. I haven't had as many lately, but yeah, yesterday was one of them. Got something in my eye. So today is like the aftermath of that. I'm really tired. It just drains you physically. I'm okay. I'm better today. But you get into a funk, and there's no, you can't identify why you're upset. People are like, "What's wrong with you?" I don't know. I mean, I had a few issues, but none that should upset you to the degree that I was upset. But that's what happens when you're depressed. Everything's magnified. So it just becomes 10 times worse. And I'm not going to go into it because we're going to have a better day today. Yes, we are. All right. I've got some drills to put down. Now I'm missing a lot of where I was going to put Aurora Borealis drills, some yellows here, because I ran out. So I did order some yesterday from diamondpaintingdrills.com, where I am also an affiliate there for the upcoming event. It actually has a different name. We've changed the name. It's going to be called Ticket to Ride Destination Paris. And there's a reason for that, but that you'll find out when I do the premiere. And the premiere is going to be a week from today. In 7 days, you're going to learn all about the event. Oh my God. Let me just tease you by saying this is going to be an event unlike any you have ever seen in the diamond painting community. Just totally different. Going to be so much fun. But that'll be in a week. Where was I going with this? I'm just so excited about it. Oh, if you're wanting to bling out your paintings, if you're doing the event with J-Rob, DP Addiction Adventures and Tia's Crazy Craft Addictions, where you're going to ask them how to bling out your painting, well, order from Diamond Painting Drills. Use my link. I'll make a small commission. And starting January 1st, there'll be a discount code that you can use for my event. Yeah, 10% off, 10, 15, 10. I don't know. One of those. Yeah. Anyway, anything helps, right? So I have to, before I can complete this, I have to wait for those to come. But I ordered them yesterday. And she's pretty quick about getting the drills out to me. And she always throws in like some samples that she's going to be starting to sell, which is always super exciting. She sent me a sample last time of a couple different drills that I'm super excited about. And as soon as they go on sale, I'm going to be ordering some. You're like, show us again. Let me see if I can find them. Yeah, here they are. One is called Candlelight, and I'll put a close up. I'll put them I'll put them into a tray. I'll put a close up here so you can see what the candlelight looks like. Oh my God, they're round, but they're so pretty. I'm going to have to ask her, like, what's the makeup of these, but beautiful. And then the other ones are called On Golden Pond. So I'll do the same thing with both. Now, I will have to ask her when these are going to go on sale, but both of them I'm going to want to order for my painting in January. So, yeah. Oh, I'll put them here so I don't forget to do that for you. Okay. So let's talk about National Cashew Day. Do you know? My first question is, I love cashews. Why are they so gosh darn expensive? Now, I'm not so sure I'm in love with a cashew now that I know how they're made. They come at the bottom of this fruit. There's like this red apple. It looks like a red apple. And at the bottom is this cashew. But it is covered in this poisonous, not really a shell, but I don't know. Its outer part is poisonous. It's the tree itself that grows the cashew is part of the poison ivy family. So you can really, really get sick even if you just touch what's inside of this cashew, between the cashew and the outer shell. You could get very sick. Now the apple itself, where the cashew is edible, and people do, put that stuff in drinks and stuff, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. So how do they make this cashew? So they've got these, and they're made all over, but the most of them are exported. Once they're collected, they're exported over to Vietnam, because Vietnam has invested in a huge amount of high-grade processing plants. Otherwise, it's all done by hand. these women who've been doing this for generations, the career is passed down over generations. Literally, they put, they take with, they're not even wearing gloves. They've got plastic bags on their hands, and they're taking the nuts and kind of getting them out of the outer shell, and then they have to roast them once they're all, like one nut at a time. Then they have to roast them. After they're roasted, then they have these other women there's another outer coat, like a peel, and they have to sit and get that peel off of the cashew. They're just literally all day long sitting here peeling cashews, and it's considered an art form. Now, frankly, I don't want that job. Nope. And then at that point, it's edible. So it's very, very expensive. The labor itself is very, very expensive. The processing is very, very expensive. And because they have to export them to a place to be processed, and then the processing plant has to export them to the US and other places, it's extremely expensive. It is like 10 times the price of a peanut. A pound of cashews will be at least $15, at least, probably more in this economy now. But frankly, I'm not so interested in a cashew anymore, knowing that, first of all, it was surrounded by poison. Secondly, that everybody's doing this, everybody's touching my cashew. They're peeling it, they're putting it in the roaster, they're running their hands over it. Now they got to peel it again. Like, take your hands off my cashew. How many people have touched that cashew before I get it? Yeah, yuck. Anyway, so moving on to crafting and crime daily. What you came here for? So let's get to the trial. Ahmaud Arbery trial, closing arguments. Prosecution starts. Now, the prosecutor's name is Ms. Donikowski. And that's important later on, Donikowski, because something interesting occurs later on during this trial. So she argues, all three defendants are charged with felony murder. They're charged with several different felonies, and then they're charged with the felony murders of Ahmaud Arbery. And if you find them guilty of the felony, then the murder was committed during the commission of these felonies. Maybe. So then the jury is going to be tasked with, are these felonies connected with his murder? Which really comes into play for the third defendant, Roddy Bryant, because he's got a really good argument towards being not guilty. He really does. The other two, not so sure. Now, I did put up a community poll, and it just says guilty, not guilty, hung jury, just in general. But I will point out that there are three defendants. They're all charged with the same stuff. But I believe that the actual verdict is going to come back very mixed. I think Travis McMichael, the shooter, may be found guilty of the most charges. His father may get off on some of the charges, and I think this Roddy Bryant will get some very minor charges, like maybe aggravated assault, because he tried to corner him with his vehicle. So maybe ag assault, but he's already served quite a bit of time in jail. And poor guy has been on solitary confinement because it's for his own protection. And even as the closing arguments were going on yesterday, there's this group called the Black Panthers. They're outside of the courthouse, marching around and around the courthouse with coffins that say Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. Yikes. Yeah. And then at one point I'm just looking to see what drills I missed over here. Oh my. And at one point during the closing arguments, Arbery's mom, she gets up and leaves the courtroom. And I'll get to why she did that. I would have left too, because it was pretty disgusting what was said. Anyway, so the prosecution opens, and their argument is This was one concerted effort. They're going to, she's like, the defense is going to tell you they didn't know each other. That doesn't matter. They were all acting in concert to try to stop this guy. Now, Ahmaud Arbery has the right not to stop. Just because you tell him to stop and talk to you doesn't mean he has to stop and talk to you. He doesn't, he has the right not to stop and talk to you. Now, they have the right to ask him to stop and talk to them, but he doesn't have to talk to you. And the fact that they tried to corner him and that they were chasing him, and, so there's a lot of charges like attempted false imprisonment, false imprisonment. There's different charges that are included there. Then we get to the actual murder charges, the where the gun went off. Or the prosecutor suggested that the defendants had little reason to believe that Arbery had committed crime, which is true. We know that 12 days before this, that they had seen him in this construction site, this house that was under construction, that they had talked to the police officer. The police officer said, at the very least, we could charge him with trespassing, criminal trespassing, but nothing else, because they weren't aware that he had done anything else. He had never been caught on camera stealing anything, breaking anything. Now, the actual fact that he went into the building, and this is something the defense points out later on, the actual fact that he just entered that building does meet the definition of burglary. You don't have to take anything. You don't have to break anything. But the fact that you're in this dwelling without the owner's permission is burglary. Okay. But a lot of people went in and out of that house. The prosecution made a very big deal about driveway assumptions, that all three of these defendants stood in their driveway and made assumptions about this black man that was running down the road. That I agree with. He's running down the road, so they assumed, well, there's this black man running down the road. He must have done something. He must have just committed a crime. That's what's going to hang him right there. So they get in their vehicle, armed. They get in their vehicles. The first vehicle, the Michaels. Now, Roddy Bryant does not grab a weapon. His defense attorney points out he had a hammer that he was using on the porch. He had to go in his house to get his car keys. He didn't grab his gun or his rifle. He just goes and gets his car keys. So he comes back out. He's not running. He's walking. He walks back out. He gets in his truck. Doesn't grab a weapon. He's just going to go see if he can help out. But, they've made this assumptions about a man who's just running by and they're taking a weapon with them. That's just that's my bad. I'm like, I guess I was raised differently. I would not, if I saw someone running by, I would just be like, hey, how are, that's me. I don't think, ooh, did he commit a crime? Did he commit a crime? I don't think like that. And I certainly don't think, oh, let me go get a rifle and go after him. Now, is there crime in this neighborhood? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't care because I just worry about my own house. One time they sold it. I had a Bryant necklace one of those lanyards that you hang your badge off. I had it hanging in the car. Somebody got into my car and took it. Okay. But the next day, if someone was down the street, I wouldn't go after them with a rifle. Give me my lanyard back. No. Now, the prosecution was careful to ask the jury to please use your common sense. That, the defense is going to argue that Ahmaud Arbery was the aggressor. Now, she pointed out, and correctly so, that you cannot create a situation and then claim self-defense. Travis created this situation. He had this rifle out. The guy's running down the street. He's got his rifle, pointed towards him. He created the situation. You cannot then say, oh, it's self-defense. Ahmaud Arbery wasn't even after him. He tried to go a different route around the truck. Travis comes around the other side. They meet at the front. Now this guy knows, Arbery knows, he can't go anywhere because this is evidence that did come out during the trial. There's another man who was not charged that's standing off in the distance in front of his home with a weapon. So he can't run anywhere. He can't get away. He's already been running for 5 minutes and cannot get away from these guys. So he approaches Travis, and now Travis is going, "Oh, self-defense, self-defense. I'm afraid for my life. Let me shoot him." You can't claim self-defense if you created the situation. So that's the prosecution's argument. And if I sound like I feel that way, please don't. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm just telling you what the prosecution said. Mrs. Donikowski. So later on, Roddy Bryant's lawyer gets up and he accidentally calls her Mrs. Donikowski. I'm probably the only one that picked it up, but he's like, "Oh, excuse me, I mean Miss Donikowski." But really, I thought that was hilarious, Miss Donikowski. And this is the kind of guy that probably didn't even, maybe he didn't do it on purpose. I don't know. I found it hysterical that maybe nobody else heard it. I heard it. But whatever. This is the same guy who made the Black Pastor comment. He's quite a character, this guy, and he has another lawyer working for him, and it's clear to me that he has her do all the motions, and I think she even put together the closing argument, and he's just kind of reading it. He's interjecting his own argument, but he's trying to follow her outline. And she's standing there. She's literally sitting right next to him during his closing argument, like showing him sheets of paper, like here, here. Or she's working the film because he showed some video. So he portrays his client as this simple man that, that got up that morning not intending to kill anybody. And his argument is very well positioned because he said, if my client had not done nothing after he saw that man, he had just, for argument's sake, say he does nothing. He doesn't go get his keys. He doesn't get in his truck. He just watches him go by. Hey, just watches him go by. That doesn't mean that murder's not still going to occur when Ahmaud Arbery gets to Travis McMichael. It still could have occurred. The murder still could have happened because Roddy Bryant played no part in that murder. So when you see the film that Roddy Bryant was capturing on his cell phone, you can see that Roddy Bryant cannot even see. Like, first of all, he doesn't know these people have guns. How would he know that? He was never in touch with them on the cell phone, never communicated with them. Never waved at him. They didn't say, "Oh, look, I got a rifle." No, none of that. He didn't see them. So when he's coming up that last street, there's like a dog leg left. So as Ahmaud is running towards the left and he's following him slowly. Now his intent at this point is just to film him with the camera because he believes that the guy's going to get away and he just wants to show the film to the police. He's not after him anymore. He's just filming him. So as he's filming him, and Ahmaud takes that dog leg, and the truck of the McMichaels comes into view, you can see like a silhouette of Travis McMichael, but you do not see a rifle. You just see Travis silhouetted in the shade of a tree. Now you do see Greg McMichael in the back of this truck, but he's got a weapon, he's got a handgun, but he's on the phone talking to 911. Now, this is the first time that Roddy sees a weapon, but he also sees Ahmaud Arbery veering off to the other side of that truck because you see his cell phone go this way, thinking that the guy's going to run this way. Then the cell phone misses him running in the front of the truck because we don't really know what happened in the front of that truck. But then the cell phone gets back there in time Now, this is the first time that Roddy sees a rifle. And by the time he sees it, the first shot goes off. Boom. That's when Roddy knows that these guys are armed with a rifle. And it's already happened. The murders happened. Boom, boom, boom. There was nothing he could have done to stop it. The other argument that his attorney very skillfully makes is that he was interviewed as a witness by three very, very skilled police officers, detectives, investigators. And it wasn't until the Georgia Bureau of Investigation gets involved that he now becomes a defendant or a suspect. He was a witness. None of these three very knowledgeable police officers ever considered that he had anything to do with the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, that he false imprisoned anybody or anything like that. So that's why I think really all three defense attorneys did marvelous jobs. Really, let me talk about the Greg McMichael's attorney, the female attorney. She gets up, also very, very skilled. She paints this picture of this neighborhood, like the Hallmark neighborhood, where, people bake cookies for each other and they bandage people, the kids' knees, and they, exchange recipes. But now the crime rate is going up and people can't leave their homes and they're scared. And I'm thinking, what? Okay. Not true. There's no evidence that the crime rate was going up in this neighborhood, Anyway, that there's these suspicious people in the neighborhood, and so we don't let our kids out anymore, and it's ruining the neighborhood. And then at one point, she makes this remark about how Greg had no intention to shoot this skinny-legged boy with the long dirty toenails. I don't know why she said this. I really don't. And you hear his mother go, and she gets up and leaves. And then she goes outside and she's standing next to one of the black pastors making a speech about, why did they even have to comment about my son's dirty toenails? What did that have to do with anything? I actually felt like this female lawyer was very compassionate, about, she said, we don't know why Ahmaud Arbery kept coming back to this neighborhood. We'll never know. Maybe he was this, fine young man in the baseball cap, but something happened to him in his 20s that caused him to come into this neighborhood repeatedly and, I don't know, terrorize people. I didn't get the argument, but she was trying to be compassionate about it. And she was trying to make that, Greg McMichael, who's standing in the back of this truck, armed, on his cell phone with 911, hollered, no, 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 to his son when his son shot Ahmaud Arbery. And that he had nothing to do with this murder. It was his son. Oh, my God. That he was not acting in concert with his son. There was no plan between him and his son that they were going to kill this guy. I make the argument as a prosecutor that his father ran in the house that day and said, hey, there's that guy out there. Go get your gun. Hello, what about that statement? That statement's going to hang Greg McMichael. Anyway, that's it. So the way it was left at the end of the day is now it's the turn of the prosecutor to come up and do a rebuttal. So the judge asked her, how long are you going to take for a rebuttal? She goes, I'm going to use all 2 hours of my rebuttal. Ooh, okay. So he's like, well, it's 4:45 now. So he goes and he asks the jury, do y'all want to stay and listen to 2 hours worth of rebuttal? And they're like, nope, no, we don't. So he excuses them for the day. But he comes back and he tells the lawyers, because of the chaos going on outside of the courthouse, he has moved their deliberation room into an interior deliberation room. Apparently they were going to set them up in a deliberation room that had windows to the exterior of the courthouse. So he has moved them into an interior deliberation room so they will not be affected by the chaos of the Black Panther group marching around the courthouse with coffins. Yikes. So don't forget to give me your opinion on the community poll about how you think this thing is going to turn out. And I honestly, like I said, I think it's going to turn out different for all three defendants. I don't think it's going to be the same for all three. It'll be an interesting reading of the verdict forms. Each defendant will have a separate verdict form. So today we'll get to hear the 2-hour closing argument of the prosecutor. Then the judge will take probably another hour to read the charges to the jury, where he explains the law in this case. And there's a lot of it to be explained. False imprisonment, felony murder, all of that stuff. Then it will get to the jury, probably maybe before lunch, maybe after lunch, somewhere around that time, and they will begin their deliberations. I think it's just going to be like that trial last week. They're going to have to take at least a day or two to muddle their way through this. But I could be wrong. Now, let me remind you, we have a jury of 11 white people, 1 black person. Now, another little show that's been going on in the courtroom, or a drama, is that one of the jurors keeps falling asleep. And they haven't admonished her because they're not trying to piss her off, but they've rearranged her. Now they have her sitting next to a bailiff who's supposed to kind of like nudge her if he sees her falling asleep. Well, apparently yesterday she was falling asleep during the female defense attorney's closing arguments. And after her closing arguments, she's like, Your Honor, the juror was falling asleep. Well, no one else apparently, one other person saw it. So the judge's like, okay, I'm just going to keep an eye on her again. Because what they want is for them to dismiss that juror and add in one of the alternates. Because they've got 3 alternates. So that's the drama going on in this courtroom. What else is going on? Let's do this day in history, shall we? The Life magazine. Life magazine made its debut this day in history in I'm guessing it's 1947. Let's see if I'm right, because I don't have this memorized. Oh, wrong code. Well, first of all, I did not tell you about cashews. It's National Cashew Day. And I wanted to tell you. So it's National Cashew Day. Let's talk about cashews. Oh, my goodness. Now I'll do this. Okay, so I was wrong. November 23rd, 1936, the first edition of Life magazine is published. Now, Life magazine was published prior to that, but it was a whole different kind of magazine. It was more satirical, and it didn't do well. So this fellow by the name of Henry Lucci, he purchases the Life magazine name, and he starts Life magazine again as a pictorial magazine, mostly pictures, and people loved it. They ate it up. The first picture had Margaret Bork White at Fort Peck's Dams spillway. So it also, in addition to having a lot of pictures of people, it had pictures of places, and this was just prior to television. So people loved this magazine. Just like I like People magazine, because I'm looking at the pictures, especially this last issue, the Sexiest Men issue. Holy moly. Yeah. They made Paul Rudd the sexiest man alive. But you know who was the runner-up? Yeah. My favorite, I can't pronounce his name. The guy from Bridgerton. Page. His last name is Page. I don't know. Page, Paul. He's from, I can't pronounce it. But he's so good looking. Oh, my word. He should have been on the cover. Seriously. But I digress. Anyway, so Life magazine, hugely popular. But then television comes out in the early 40s. and Life magazine. It was printed weekly. It's the popularity of it starts to fade, and they stopped printing it weekly. They went to monthly, but they did go back to weekly printing between 2004 and 2007. Sometime in that time frame, they go back to weekly printing um, as a supplement to U.S. newspapers. Now, we know now that newspapers are passe. Nobody gets a newspaper that I know of. Nobody reads a newspaper. I used to remember newspapers. Remember when I enjoyed the Sunday paper? I liked it. I would on Sundays. I'd go. I didn't have a. I didn't order the paper, but on Sundays I would go out. I'd get us a dozen Dunkin' Donuts for the family. I'd get the Sunday paper, and I'd go home and we'd have coffee. My husband and I, and we'd read the Sunday paper, and the kids would eat our. We'd all eat our donuts, and it's back when Dunkin' Donuts were really good. Not anymore. So, Life magazine. I didn't read it. Never, no interest. So that's Life magazine. So if you enjoyed the show today, make sure to hit the like button. He did a terrible job on the Christmas tree yesterday. I have to redo the whole thing. But today I have tasked him with thawing the turkey. I just want the like button to stand there and thaw the turkey. So if you feel sorry for him, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. If you made it all the way through the show, please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget the notification bell because you do not want to miss a single episode of Crafting and Crime daily. Plus, you don't want to miss when I do my pop-up live with the verdict, the reading of the verdict. That is always exciting. Yep. And that could be today, could be tomorrow. It wouldn't be till much later today, or sometime tomorrow, the next day. Yeah. Now, I would presume that the judge is not going to make them deliberate on Thursday and Friday. So I'm thinking these people want to get home for Thanksgiving. So that's going to be a little impetus to move them along in reaching a verdict. So I'm guessing they're going to have a verdict by Wednesday because I doubt very seriously they want to come back on Friday or Saturday or whatever the judge is going to make them do. I have no idea. Anyhow, I'm running out of breath. Guys, have a great Tuesday. Go bake some cookies, make a pie, or just do some crafting. I love you all. Bye.